There's this idea, I think it's called Heraclitus, that you can never step in the same river twice because the river has changed and also you've changed. We talk about Heraclitus with reading, like you can never read the same book twice. Not really, right? Because the person reading is different than they were before. And I really think about this every January because December me made a plan. December me thought she knew what the first week back would need. But December me hadn't rested yet. December me hadn't had 2 weeks away from the building, away from the decisions, and away from, being on. And January me is a different person. And she's the one who has to teach this week. So every year I sit down this weekend right now and I look at what December me left me and I ask, does this still fit? That's what we're doing today, and not just today. This is the first of what I intend to be a weekly thing, the Anti-Burnout PLC. Every week you show up, we work through something together, and you leave ready. If you stick around, here's what you'll leave with today: a discussion plan for January, and also a plan for this week. And look, I know PLC is a loaded term. You hear PLC and you think like, or I think fluorescent lights and data walls and someone telling you what your students need based on a spreadsheet. But that's really not what PLC was supposed to be. It was supposed to be teachers thinking together. Like you look at your own practice in your own classroom and bring what you're actually working on and figuring out with people who get it. So that's what this is. You bring your week, I bring mine, and we figure it out. But first, here's the one question to ask about whatever plan you have right now. Does it serve what students actually? Okay, so welcome to the Anti Burnout PLC. I'm Danielle. This is a weekly planning session. You show up, we work through something together, you leave with a plan. Grab your calendar and whatever you have for January, even if you hate it, we're going to work with it. So we're walking back into a lot. There's the students who've been off for 2 weeks, sleeping until noon at best, not thinking about school. There's the curriculum, whatever unit you're in the middle of or about to start. And there's your plan from December, which may or may not fit anymore. And there's you, however you're actually feeling right now. There are a lot of variables, right? There's this concept from product design called jobs to be done. The idea is when someone buys a product, they're not buying the thing, they're hiring it to do a job. Like you don't buy a drill because you want a drill, you buy it because you want a hole in the wall. I think about weeks and actually units and a lot of teaching the same way. What job is this week doing for students? What will they be glad this week gave them? And for me, what will make Friday feel like a win? So let's get specific about January. What jobs are students hiring this week to do? So if you think about it, they haven't seen their friends in 2 weeks, some of them. So they've been in a completely different mode, sleeping late, maybe no schedule. Maybe they've had family stuff. Maybe they've been dealing with stress. Maybe they've been dealing with relaxation. And now they're back in a room with like 29 other people and expected to think. What will they be glad this week gave them? Reconnecting, time with people they haven't seen, settling back in, like remembering how this room works and feeling like they belong here. So that's the student job, not review content from before break. That might be what you need from them, but they're hiring this week to reconnect and to settle. So if you design a week that's all content push with no space for reconnection, you're fighting what they need. It's going to be a slog. And then for you, because I think it really needs to have both sides. Like, what is this doing for your students and what is it doing for you? So what job are you hiring this week to do? You're also coming back. You've also been in a different mode and you have the whole semester ahead of you. What will you be glad this week gave you? So it's probably getting situated and knowing what you're teaching, having a plan. I would say not deciding day by day, like living hand to mouth, setting up a January so February is survivable because February is long. There are no breaks, and that's when burnout really hits. So that's a teacher job, a plan and a system, and not daily decisions. Okay, so the first question is, do you have a plan for January? If yes, even if you hate it, just pull it up and we're going to work with it. If not, let's fix that right now. Okay, so I have a couple things for you. I have a 12th night unit that I recently made that works for January, like comedy, community, good energy for coming back together. And I'll put a link to that in the description. I also have an It's a Wonderful Life unit if you want that New Year's reflective energy and you want to hold on to the winter break, the holiday energy a little bit longer. I'll also put that in the description. If you just need this week, I have a hexagonal norms activity. So it reestablishes community, gets them talking, and buys you time to plan the rest. And that's also linked. You don't need to take any of my things, but if you need something, that's what I have. So you can grab that. Regardless, at this point, hopefully everyone has something to work with. So let's go. Okay, so here's what I'm actually doing. I'm a jumping into content kind of person this year. I don't want to ease in with a bunch of goal setting and icebreakers. I want to just get going. But I'm not pretending that break didn't happen. So my team taught class is starting to think about Frankenstein, but we're not getting into the book yet. Not, tomorrow. We're going to start with Prometheus and Ernest Shackleton. I really like doing it this way. It's a soft start and it all fits. Like we're building towards something, but there's room to settle in. Prometheus is like definitely a lighter lift than the beginning of Frankenstein. And then they like the story of Ernest Shackleton, and I have a lot of connections that I can make to, Victor and Walton. I like it. And then my honors class is hopping back into our romantic poetry unit, and we're looking at odes. So I gave them a choice. They either finished the year, we watched a film in all classes, but they either watched A Christmas Carol or Bright Star with John Keats. We're going to be looking at some odes from John Keats. When I looked back at my plan, December me thought I could just pick up where we left off, apparently. But now I'm thinking, um, same plan generally, but starting with a review game and some journaling to connect it to the new year. So just like warming up a little bit before we go really hard. That's my week one. Content is happening, but putting in some breathing room as well. So what about you? Are you a jump in person this year or an ease in person? I have some go to options if you're not sure. Here they are. So you can use content to discuss new beginnings. That's what I'm doing with my romantic poetry unit, and it's what my 12th night unit and the It's a Wonderful Life unit does if you grab that. You can really ease in with New Year activities. So you could do journal prompts, watch a motivational video and reflect on it, that kind of thing. You can do a 1 day palette cleanser, like a short film, poem, something self contained. I really like to use the poem, like the book length poem for everyone by Jason Reynolds for this. And I love it so much. I was thinking about it. I made you a freebie that you can also grab in the description, but it's just a really good way to get students thinking about who they want to be and what it means to like have a dream and to sometimes miss it, like to actually work for it. So that's another option. You can do something team building, like those collaborative classroom norms that I talked about, because really this is like the new August or the new September, right? And some people, like some of you, like you may have right now a new semester of students that are a completely new class. So you really are doing that new class kind of building. But also, if you didn't do a great job of norms or you want to make sure that they're doing something that they weren't doing before, this is a great kind of activity or team building, like playing games or whatever it is that you like to do. You can also do, speaking of games, like a review game. So getting them back into content from before the break, but making it low stakes and social. And then I have two more. You can start something brand new. So clean slate, no continuity required. That's what I'm doing with my sophomores, my team taught class with Frankenstein. Or you could do something that's like really low stakes. If you just like maybe need to punt a little bit, you can do some independent reading, see what they like, check in on their reading goals, that kind of thing. So not asking much of them, just being in the room together. Or you can do a low stakes discussion. So not tied to grades necessarily, just getting them talking again, have them read something and then talk about it. So there's no wrong answer. Obviously, the question is just how Like, does it match who you are this week and does it serve what you and your students need? Here's the thing though, when I plan a week like this that has a soft start and has breathing room and not jumping straight into the hard, I can feel a little uneasy about it. Like sometimes I feel like I'm putting on a band-aid and wasting time. It's probably better than you think, and it's probably better than I think because like reconnection isn't nothing and settling in isn't nothing. That matters for everything that comes after. But what helps me feel better about it is thinking ahead. So if I know where this week is going, if I can see how it connects to week 2 and then that soft start doesn't feel like stalling, it feels more like setup. So let's do that. Let's look at the rest of the month. Okay, so you've got a sense of your week. Now let's zoom into one thing specifically, discussion. So here's the thing, a classroom with strong discussion is just easier to teach. When we're talking about what to invest in from an anti-burnout perspective, this is really high on the list. When students are talking to each other and building on each other's ideas, you're not carrying everything and your energy just goes further. And it makes everything else stronger because reading gets stronger because they're processing together, writing gets stronger because they've rehearsed their thinking out loud, and then their thinking gets stronger because they're bumping up against other people's ideas if they're doing it well, right? So again, it just helps feed classroom gains, which is good for morale, honestly, both for you and your students. So if you're not at 100% with discussion in your room yet, like if it's not happening regularly, if it's not strong, or if it's not as strong as you want it to be, this is what I would highly recommend you focus on for the month. So we're also ready, like first semester was about getting to know each other. And now we have that foundation. And this semester we can move them into more regular, stronger academic discussion. So let me show you how I'm mapping that for January. When I'm mapping any skill, first I think about three things. So, does it show up more than once in my progression? So, space practice beats cramming, they need the reps. And then the second thing is, does it build? Is it like building, starting small and then building bigger? In this case, they're coming back cold. So, we're really wanting to work on that schema and I'm making sure that we're building that. And then the third question is what's one skill I'm reteaching? So I'm looking forward and I'm also looking backward. So I'm not assuming they remember, I'm picking one thing to explicitly rebuild. All right, so here's what I'm doing. And this is like on top of what I told you that I'm doing as far as like the Frankenstein and the romantic author. So week 1, I'm gonna be having them just do really low lift partner shares and then giving them the option to share in their group. I start with a routine where they do some independent reading and they do a little bit of random topic writing. Students like to share about their writing specifically, but what I'll do is give them the option if they want to share a little bit of their writing or talk about what they're reading. So that will be their little low lift group discussion in addition to what we do, with Frankenstein and romantic authors. And then the second 2 weeks of the month will be small group discussion. And I really want to work on interdependence, which is how I build all of my group assignments, but really getting them talking and understanding the structure. We've been doing some little jigsaws and they responded really well to that. So I'm excited to build on that. And then week 4, this will be building towards something bigger. I'm thinking maybe whole class. They've done a couple like fishbowl discussions. So I'm thinking now maybe they might be ready for something that's whole class, or maybe we'll repeat the fishbowl discussion, seeing how they're doing. And I'm picking one skill to reteach. What I'm thinking is I really want them to focus on building on each other's ideas. And I'm going to be telling them that as a goal explicitly. That's something that I want to make sure that they're doing. And I'm also going to put that in my agenda as a visual reminder. So it'll just be like in my little reminder section in the agenda. So that's it. Discussion every week, building from small to big, one skill I'm explicitly rebuilding. And this is, again, continuing Frankenstein for my team talk classes and moving into Frankenstein for my honors classes. But this can lay on top of those two classes in the same way as far as the progression. So they're both following the same trajectory, at least for discussion. Obviously, they're at different curricular points, but I like having some shared objectives when possible between my two classes because that helps me and my cognitive load and minimizing task switching. So it means that I have in some ways less to plan. It just really works out for my brain. And if I think about jobs, so going back to earlier, does this serve what students need? That reconnecting? Yes. They're getting reps. They're rebuilding skills without too much pressure, too fast. Yes. And then does it serve what I need? So I mapped it once. I'm not deciding day by day. Monday morning, I already know what's happening. So yeah, like I have a good plan for the rest of the week and going into the month, I have a pretty rough, strong plan. So that's the test. Okay, so your turn. Here are those three questions again when you're thinking about your focus skill. So, does it show up more than once? Does it build? And what's one skill you're reteaching? So, pretty simple, right? In this, like my idea for this is that now hopefully you have some ideas to get you going for the month and the week, and you can go ahead and make your plan. You can grab my freebie or resources to get you going. And next week, what we'll do is we're going to do something else that I think will help us to feel better in the new year, and that's getting organized a bit. So, we're going to be looking at our Google Drive and also looking at small group structures. So, we're going to be looking at the teacher side, like our back end, our Google Drive, and then what we're going to deliver to our students. We're going to be looking at how to structure some of the small group discussions. And next week, I am hosting a challenge. I'm calling it the Excavation Challenge. So for 5 days, we're going to be building a writing unit from what you already have, digging through your old files, running it through the schema lens, and then ending with a unit that's sequenced for learning. So I'll be giving you some tools, but it's also trying to help you to not reinvent the wheel and to think about where you have gaps so that you can build it around that like schema development. So new year, new system, but using the stuff you've already made. If that sounds good to you, I've put a link in the description. So see you then. Thanks for hanging out.